Hello everyone, my name's Joe Soyson. I'm a contributor for Fantom Sports Industries hockey page, and today I'll be doing a power ranking of the top 8 teams out of the Atlantic Division based on their goalie rooms. Should be a fun video, so let's get right into it. Starting off at number 8, the Buffalo Sabres. Look, the story of this team last year and this offseason was, wow, look at this offense, but can they keep the puck out of their own net? Part of that blame goes to the defense, part of that blame goes to the goalkeepers, but they will miss the veteran presence of Craig Anderson, who retired at the end of last year. With him out of the lineup, this room is very, very green. They've got 4 potential starters, Comrie, Levi, Luukkonen, and Tokarski, and the 4 of them have a combined 180 games started in their careers. That is not a lot for 4 goalies. What does make this group really interesting, though, is that they're leaning towards the younger goalies as their starting duo. Luukkonen is 24 years old, and he played in 33 games last year, went 17, 11, and 4, so a winning record. And Devin Levi, fresh out of college, played in 7 games down the stretch last year for the Sabres, went 5 and 2, and nearly got them into the postseason with his numbers. It's a group with a lot of potential, but they're going to need help from their defense. They allowed the 7th most shots against last year, and a younger, inexperienced group is going to need that defensive support. They could easily jump in the rankings. This group's got a very high ceiling, but until they prove it, I have to keep the team out of Western New York here at number 8. At number 7, the Montreal Canadiens. Recent roster update, Montreal traded Casey DeSmith. They acquired Tanner Pearson from Vancouver, which means that now the goalie room consists of really just 2 guys, Jake Allen and Sam Montembeault. Jake Allen is 33 years old. He's entering his 11th year in the NHL, but his career numbers are nothing to scoff at. Save percentage of 90.9, goals against average of 2.70, but his numbers have been down recently since coming to Montreal, and it's a similar story for Sam Montembeault. He's 26 years old, so he's really young and big, 6'3". Surprisingly, last year was one of his best statistical careers. He saw the most NHL action he's seen in one season, doubled his win count from the year prior, and had a career-high save percentage of 90.1. The problem is Montreal's not giving them much help in front. The Canadiens allowed the 5th most shots against in the league, that's most in the division, and last year they had the highest goals against average per game in the division with 3.72. And unlike Buffalo, there's not a lot of offensive support here either. They're ranked 26th in goals for last season. Tanner Pearson will help with that, but they're going to need more of this skating core to step up to support these two, which is why I've got the Canadiens at number 7. At number 6, the Ottawa Senators. Ottawa had a handful of goalies start for them last year, but this year it looks like they'll be running with 3 main guys, Anton Forsberg, Mads Sjogard, and the newest addition to the team, Jonas Korpisalo. Korpisalo is 29 years old, and last year was kind of a strange year for him. Korpisalo started with the Columbus Blue Jackets, then was traded late to the Los Angeles Kings, and would end up starting for the Kings in their playoff series against Edmonton in the opening round. It feels like the Senators have brought him in to be the starting guy, but he's never played more than 39 games in a regular season, and that was just last year if you combine his time with Columbus and Los Angeles. But we'll have to see how much time he actually gets as a starter. Forsberg, since joining the Senators, has been dancing around an even record. Last year he went 11-11-2, but he's coming off of a big injury, MCL tear in both knees, so we'll see how long it takes for him to get back into the swing of things. And lastly, a lot remains to be seen with Mads Sjogard. His career record is 9-7-3, but he's very young and he is massive. He's 6'7". He makes everybody look small, and he's only 22 years old. But part of the difficulty of ranking Ottawa is that they shot themselves in the foot so many times last year. They led the league in total penalty minutes, and although their penalty kill was good, you can't afford to give your opponent that many opportunities. That all being said, Ottawa's shown a lot of promise, but there are a handful of question marks that still need to be answered with this group, which is why I've got them at number 6. Number 5, the Detroit Red Wings. It's a slightly older locker room or goalie room out of Detroit this year, at least compared to the other teams in the Atlantic. But in this case, age and experience trumps youth and talent. Ville Husso is the youngest of Detroit's big three at 28 years old. He went 26, 22, and 7 in his 56 starts last year. His numbers were down from his time in St. Louis, but he did have some high highs, including a career high 4 shutouts that season. They added 30-year-old Alex Lyon and 35-year-old James Reimer to the lineup this year, and that adds good depth to the locker room. Lyon doesn't have a ton of time as a starter, but last year with Florida, he went 9-4-2 in the regular season and got the start in the playoff series against the Boston Bruins. Meanwhile, Reimer is entering his 14th year in the NHL, and his career numbers look like the best of the three, with the exception of win percentage, which is the lowest of the three. The defense of Detroit is 22nd in total shots against, so there is support for these goalies, and what we've seen from these three in the past is that when they've got that solid support in front of them, they're able to do a pretty good job and get a lot of wins on the board, which is why I like Motor City this year, and I've got them at number 5 in the Atlantic. Number 4, the Tampa Bay Lightning. Andrei Vasilevskiy is arguably the best goaltender in the NHL today. The 29-year-old has a career record of 263 wins, 123 losses, and 28 overtime losses, a save percentage of 91.9, and a goals against average of 2.52. And what's scary is his numbers in the playoffs get even better. Conn Smythe winner in 2021, 2 Stanley Cup championships. There is no question mark to Vasilevskiy's talent. But when he's not in the net, Tampa Bay do not feel like the same team. And news just dropped that he'll be out for 10 weeks. That's 2 months worth of games for Tampa. Now, they have Jonas Johansson as a backup this year. He doesn't have a ton of NHL experience. He's only played in 35 games, but he's been swinging up and down between the NHL and the AHL, so he'll be ready to suit up when the time comes. Outside of Johansson, the goalie number 3 is either Hugo Alnefelt or Matt Tompkins, who have a total of 1 game played in the NHL. Tampa is heavily dependent on Vasilevskiy to perform well. But if one of these goalies has a breakout year, they'll be fine. But they haven't shown us that X factor yet, which is why I'm keeping Tampa Bay at number 4. At number 3, the Florida Panthers. The defending Eastern Conference champions get number 3. Their depth is changed, but their starter is still Sergei Bobrovsky. Bob looked great in the playoffs last year. 12-6 record, save percentage of 91.5. He's entering his 13th year in the NHL, and at 35 years old, he's still playing an average of 53.5 games a year. Now, Florida did lose Alex Lyon to Detroit, and we're not sure when or if Spencer Knight will come back, which means that the second-string goalie spot goes to the newcomer Anthony Stolarz. Stolarz last year with the Ducks was a little subpar, but on his career, he's got a goals against average of 2.93 and a save percentage of 91.2. Bob and Stolarz, these guys will keep you in a lot of games, especially if you've got a complementary offense like the Florida Panthers do. That's why I like them here at the number 3 spot in the Atlantic Division. Number 2, the Toronto Maple Leafs. I love depth at goaltender, and the Maple Leafs have it in spades. Ilya Samsonov is likely the starter. He's entering his 5th season, and his record in the regular season is solid, 79, 32, and 13. Plus, he's been in the playoffs 3 years in a row. He's only 26 years old, by the way, so he's going to get better. Then there's Joseph Woll, whose numbers look good. He hasn't played a lot, only started in 11 games in 2 years, but he's won 9 of those games. And in the playoffs this year, he went 1-2, but he had a save percentage of 91.5 and a goals against average of 2.43. If you told me those were the stats my goalie would put up in the postseason, I'd take those odds and bank on my team to score 3 or more goals. Then they also signed Martin Jones this offseason, 10-year veteran, and he wins a lot of games. Even with his worst save percentage last year in Seattle, Jones went 27, 13, and 3. And on top of all of this, 2-time Stanley Cup champion Matt Murray is on this roster. He's on IR right now, but if he comes back and feels confident, you've potentially got 4 starting goaltenders on one roster. Lots of depth, lots of talent. I really like this Maple Leaf squad, and I've got them at number 2. At number 1, the Boston Bruins. How could I not put Boston number 1 after the season they just had? Linus Ullmark is 30 years old, won the Vezina, just put up a career-high number in save percentage and goals against average. 93.8% and 1.89 goals against. No one comes close to those numbers in their careers in this division. And you know how I love depth at goalie. Well, Boston hit on their 2017 draft pick. Jeremy Swayman is 54, 23, and 7 in only 3 years in the league. By the way, he's only 24 years old, so he's only going to get better. And Boston is predicted to take a slight step back this year, but that's because of the changes at the skating core. I don't think you put up these numbers by mistake, which is why I've got the Boston Bruins at number 1 in the Atlantic Division. Well, that's it for me today. Thank you all so much for watching. If you're interested in other sports news and takes, be sure to check out our official site, phantomsportsindustries.com, and be sure to click that subscribe button down below to get notified of future uploads to this very channel. Once again, my name's been Joe Soyson, and we hope to see more of you next time at Fantom.